time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
I don't even think you have this yet. When we're done at 6:30 tonight,
yep,
we are going straight to TCO Performance Center, correct?
Yes.
Where the high school girls flag football, state flag football championship game will have already begun. I think it's supposed to start about 6. We'll pick it up in progress, is what I was told.
Okay.
That'll be on the Fan tonight, right?
Yes.
And it's Halvey and your guy on the broadcast?
Parker Fox.
Okay. Well, I wonder if they happen to see this. This comes via Ryan Williamson.
Yep.
I just got a report from the girls flag football state tournament at the end of regulation in the 1998 NFC Championship game. Brilliantly played.
Wow.
That's an old-time, good, solid rip from Ryan Williamson. Nicely done. So, taking a knee, you do that to be merciful even in flag football, apparently, eh?
I guess you do.
Who knew?
Man, I wonder which team it was because the semifinals are now set there. Park of Cottage Grove will take on Rogers.
Okay.
And then Minnetonka lost to Rosemount by 1 in overtime. 33-32.
Wow, barn burner.
And then Centennial beat La Crescent Hoka 7-6 to advance to the other semifinals.
Nice.
So, what did I say? We've got Park of Cottage Grove and Rogers, and then Centennial and Rosemount in the semifinals. And like you said, right after us, we send it right to Halvey and Parker Fox from TCO.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I got this text a moment ago listening apparently to the last segment. It's that way in Europe, Dad. You're kind of dramatic.
She's just learning that?
Kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
It does.
And I haven't texted back yet, but I will eventually say, I got to do a radio show. You want college? That's the deal. Is you got to do what you got to do. Everybody's got to do exactly it.
Yeah.
You like going to Ireland for the Irish Dance Worlds competition a year ago?
Which Hawaii trip was your favorite?
Exactly. That's it.
The one you went with Gaardsy's family was there, or the other ones?
That's it. 100% true.
Yeah.
All right, man. The Green folks are they're checking in. Yeah, Sharks and Jets are checking in.
Do we need the security that we had, a few months ago to come help us?
We might. It's stunning how people lose their minds, but that's okay.
All right, so let's talk about basketball news. There's a game in New York tonight. Game 3 of the finals. First finals game at Madison Square Garden since 1999. Actually, my life full circle. I remember playing tennis with Trent Tucker in 1999, years before I would ever start working here, talking about how he had just talked to Patrick Ewing, who was injured at the time.
Yes.
Spurs, and you have to play. He's like, Patrick says you got to play. Today on the show, Trent Tucker talked about talking to Patrick Ewing because he's at all these games like John Starks and everything. It's great.
And Steph Marbury.
Steph Marbury, of course, Knicks legend. But, how can anybody care about that when we got the news today that the Gophers and St. Thomas are going to play basketball this season? Not just on the men's side, but on the women's side. They just had Stephen A.
Is it going to be a doubleheader?
It's not going to be a doubleheader, which that would be cool. I actually would like that. That would be fun. It's going to be different days. The Gophers men will host the Tommies on November 6th at Williams Arena. The women will play St. Thomas at Williams Arena on December 1st. The meetings will be the first between the two teams since St. Thomas began Division I play in 2021-2022. And now all can be right with the St. Paul and St. Thomas world. How many times Nico was asked about it at his introductory press conference 2 minutes after Derek Queen beat them to go to the Sweet 16, Maryland, Colorado State. You going to play St. Thomas? Hey, congrats, Nico. You going to play St. Thomas? Ben Johnson wouldn't. Now, all you Tommies, and I went to school there. It's one of my 5 colleges. Can we all just relax? We got it done now. What are we going to do now? Does it have to be yearly?
There's always another dragon to slay.
I know they already play in hockey, and that's great.
I think we did. We've obviously talked about this over the years, and I think my conclusion was I was begging for it, not because I cared at all or thought it was as big a deal as the Tommie people pretended it was, but just so everybody could shut up and we wouldn't have to hear about it anymore, right? So I'm with you. Now, you got it. Now, let's move on to something else. And let's stop pretending this is like, I've never, maybe I know I'm in the minority on this. I've never gotten all that worked up. Look, I can get worked up over everything, including bottle caps.
You just did it.
But I could not get worked up over, oh, you're afraid to play the little school, huh? And there's a million examples, not just St. Thomas. This notion that you're obligated to play these little schools when they have everything to gain and you have everything to lose.
Right.
I never cared. It's fine if you want to do it, fine. But the idea that this was some great injustice, I never understood that concept. It never fascinated me that much. It didn't mean to me that, well, what you're doing is a big school. You're afraid. You're exposing yourself of your insecurity. No, people pretended it mattered. It doesn't matter. And that's the good news today, as you say. Now, hopefully, Jonny and company will shut the bleep up about it. It's now upon us.
We'll talk to Jonny about 20 minutes from now. I assume that's all you're going to talk to him about. Not his hanging out at a New York Knicks bar to watch Karl Anthony Towns. Not his appearances on New York radio this weekend to talk about Karl Anthony Towns. You'll talk to him. He'll want to talk.
Yep.
Gophers and Tommies. By the way, Game 3 tonight, not here on the Fan. Wish it was. The Knicks are 1.5-point favorites to take a 3-0 lead.
They are favorites.
They are favored by 1.5 points.
Well, then that moved. Because I thought when the lines were first announced, the Spurs, I think as of Saturday, the Spurs were still favored.
Okay.
So maybe it moved, or I guess it could be different betting lines, obviously.
The lines to get into Madison Square Garden, by the way, are formidable.
Yeah.
Formidable.
Well, they've kind of created like a fence line all the way around, right? Because the president's showing up.
Yes.
And do we know where he's going to be?
I don't.
A box?
I assume a suite somewhere.
A suite of some sort?
It is a buzzkill. I remember Feinstein always used to talk about this, having presidents come to things.
Yeah.
Again, every president has at different times. It adds such a layer.
Oh, big time, yeah.
To think, like, all those watch parties we've been watching at New York, they're right outside of a Lifetime.
Yes.
Lifetime Fitness, right on top of Penn Station. Like, those are all gone because of that. Which, again, it's fine. The president wants to go to a game. I get it. But it is unfortunate that kind of stuff goes away because you got to keep the president safe. That part makes sense.
Well, especially, now, on the basis of what the attempts, the series of attempts on his life.
All right, so that's tonight. What else did I want to get to? The Twins are off today. They lost to the Royals yesterday,
and by the way,
6-5.
Let me back up on the Trump thing. I think you can be annoyed and offended because of what you just laid out, just the incredible changes to security that it makes. In this case, a moment that New York has been waiting for a long time. I'm not saying anybody should feel sorry for New York fans, but they are a loyal fan base, and this is the first home game they've had in forever, right?
Since 99.
Basically, since 1999. And so I can understand that particular objection, I guess I would say. But there are a number of occasions. For a lot of people, it's not because the president's going, it's because this president's going. Let's face it. I mean, that's why people are especially bitter. And, again, I think in a perfect world, he wouldn't be there just because of what the commotion that this adds. But I've been through it at some games. It is not unprecedented that this sort of thing takes place. So again, in the sense also, and even I think the commissioner spoke about this, most people believe he's a real Knicks fan, right? He had a life before he turned to politics. You may not like him. You may not have liked him then as a reality show star or what he's become since. But I don't think this is the kind of thing, oh, okay, yeah, this is a guy, what did he have to do with the Knicks? By all accounts, he's been a pretty significant sports fan for a period of time. So hate it for the right reasons if you're going to hate it, is all I'm asking you to do.
The Fan has your chance to win $2,500. All you need to do is enter the keyword birthday at KFAN.com right now. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword birthday. Your shot at $2,500.
Jonny will be coming up in about 15 minutes or so. If you have questions for him, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. Back in a minute.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
questions are coming in fast and furious for Jonny Athletic. We will save those for a little bit later when he joins at the bottom of the hour. Was this event related to his pub crawl? No, the pub crawl was last week, right?
Yeah, that was last week.
Okay, I can't keep up with all of his events. Dan, since Common Show wasn't covered by anyone, did Abbott have to read the keyword contest, or is that too much work for him? I don't know. What did they do with the keyword?
I don't know if he got to it because I had to print it out today when I got here. Usually it's here waiting for me, print it out, because the other shows read it first, and I printed it out today. So I'm guessing we missed Liberty, I'm guessing we missed America, and I'm guessing we missed Trip. But birthday still works.
Trump attending the game will uphold the everything Trump touches dies theory if the Knicks lose. ETTD has proven to be the most powerful force in the universe. Don't blame me, blame the texter. Don't get me wrong, I hope the Gophers win by 30 over UST, but it is a good move for the Gophers to build interest and watch a preseason game. There'll be 10,000 plus in the barn for that game.
We'll see.
It's wonderful. It will be a test because you do wonder sometimes whether the act of this protest, this ongoing, poor, pitiful us, and how dare you not schedule this game, that was really what it was about, was constantly moping about it. Whether there's as much interest in actually attending the game will be, I think, very, very interesting to find out. Maybe there will be. That might be perfect. The green factor has zero to do with why I like the caps. They come in handy when walking around town or wherever, so you have single-handed operation, don't need to hold the cap between drinks. That's Jeff in Maplewood, I tend to I just put the cap back on the top in between drinks. Is that bad?
I don't think so.
It's not that complicated.
I think that's pretty normal behavior.
I think there's an element in the population that almost feels like, well, if Europe does it, it must be wonderful. I would say that might be a faulty premise, or it might be a little bit more complicated than that. I don't think that makes any more sense in saying if they do something we're doing over there and they go, well, why are you doing this? Well, because that's what they do in the United States of America. Not sure that's that big a deal to me. What's interesting will be to see whether this is the start of the trend. Like I said, I mentioned that I saw this in the Kowalski's ones. I have not noticed them, Lunds Byerly's. I haven't noticed them, Trader Joe's. I'm just talking about their spring water, not their fancy water. I haven't noticed that trend, but so I'm wondering if this is, if this is going to be a trend that comes, it goes across the board. Where's 760? 760 guy writes, you're sounding more like Tony Kornheiser every day. I'd take that compliment for sure. That's not a bad thing to sound like from time to time.
Southern Cal, Southeastern California.
Oh, is it? Yep. Okay.
Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego counties.
Dan, we've covered meat and litter. Can we get a bumper-to-bumper State of the Union on urban cyclists? Very good question. Very good point. Don't just bring an old cap with you. Don't let them win anarchy. That's from 651 guy. That's his own form of a mini rebellion. He brings. That's a tough thing to remember to bring.
Yes,
before you leave, you got your wallet, you got your keys.
Yeah.
You have your bottle cap?
Do the checklist.
I guess you could keep them in the car. Do it that way.
Yes. Do you need a Dasani? Do you need a Coke? Do you need a Sprite? Do you need a Mountain Dew? Because the caps are all different, or they can be.
I mean, let's be honest. As far as I recall, in recent memory, we have had far more adult toys sent onto the court.
Oh, yeah.
Than bottles with the cap still on them.
Oh, I forgot about that. Remember that?
Yeah.
Was that last year in the WNBA?
I think it was last year in the WNBA.
Jeez.
Yeah. It seemed to come and go pretty quickly.
Thankfully.
But again, I don't. Is there an epidemic of flying water bottles?
No, but I do think, and I did get a text from a highly placed source saying it started when Reggie Miller was hit by something way back. That's when the rules changed.
Okay.
Obviously, we had the thing. Remember, Kyrie got something thrown at him a few years ago.
I don't here?
No, not here.
Oh, wait, just okay.
And I don't think it was here for Reggie Miller. Maybe it was. My source can text me back. But you'd like to think that we could move past it.
The Larry David moment would be Dan choking a bit on a sandwich with deli meat shaved to thick on an untoasted bagel. He goes to take a drink and drops the cap, spilling on himself. I think the bit would be not choking on the sandwich. It would be choking on the bottle cap. Wouldn't it?
Could be. I
mean, that'd be another way for it to go.
Do different takes.
There's a number. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities.
That would be like a Barrero finale. That would be like to have all of that happen, because all of those I think are different episodes. That's the beauty of Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm. Everything that they just mentioned there, Larry could make one episode. Didn't we do that one time with the deli thing and you had lost your phone? You'd left it on top of your car or was at the post office or whatever?
That's unbelievable.
And we thought that the person that recovered your phone could be the guy the deli meat guy that you yelled at, and he wasn't going to give it back, or he's going to put it in the slicer. We had some good... That story, when I look back on it now, I haven't thought about this story in a while, is still unmake-upable. The phone story, right? It's unmake-upable. You left it on your car at the post office, right? I left it... at the post office. I have on another occasion left my phone on the bumper of my car and driven off with it. Yeah. This was, I left it at the post office, and then you ended up with it, right? Somebody called you. Oh, well, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah. They called you picking up, I don't know how, I don't know how they got in. Maybe I didn't have a code in those days. I'm not sure. You must not have. That's right. That's what happened. Yes, that's right. Didn't they? Yeah, I was brought in. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And then I can't. Did he leave it at the post office again? I think he might have just brought it back. I don't remember. I don't remember because I don't think I went to get it. I don't think so. I forgot I was involved. I have had another one where it was like either on the roof or on the back bumper, like not wedged, but like on top. How it stayed there, I don't really know because it was one of those deals where I could still make calls, but I couldn't find it in the vehicle. And ultimately it was found out on the outside bumper. Very, very, also very Larry David-like. Reggie was hit at Target Center. He was. We only have ourselves to blame. With a water bottle? With something, yeah, with one of the bottles. It's unfortunate. So obviously, like a plastic water bottle that's empty, you ain't going to get much on it, right? Right. So the point is you use it to keep most of the water in it or whatever's in it, and then you use it as a weapon. I guess. One time. That's all it took. One time. Hey. Do we have to change every rule on the basis of one idiot, one chumbalone? I guess so. So from that point forward, all of the rest of us have been inconvenienced not being able to hold on to a damn cap. Well, then you got to worry about spilling the water. You ruined it for everybody. Yeah. The one guy ruined it for everybody. Yeah, I think we may have overreacted, but that's just me. All right, let's get Johnny in. Let's see how Johnny feels about the plastic bottle top controversy. What he makes of, the new uniforms, and we got a new logo. Is that correct? Yeah. Fifth generation. Yeah. Is it that dramatically? I don't know. Well, we'll talk about it. The phenomenon, and who knows what else with Jonny Athletic next.
You're listening to Barrero on the Fan. Keep listening for the next
Jonny Athletic. Jonny Athletic. And he's on with Dan Barrero right now.
Before we say hi to Johnny, Flim Flam has checked in on the bottle cap controversy. My gal and I are on day 38 of our annual primitive camping trip, boiling our own drinking water and catching fish to eat. We thank each one for its sustenance. Hashtag dignified circle of life. While Bougie Barrero bees and moans about bottle caps being too big an obstacle between full-blown dehydration and getting through the day with no Larry David blow-ups. Nut up or shut up. That's just brilliantly played. That's satire. Send some fish and our way, snark. Too. How good is that? We thank each one for its sustenance. Hashtag. Before we plunge the knife in to clean it. Circle of life. Johnny, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. How's it going over there?
A lot of controversies today. Lots of stuff to get to, but I'm sure you're all excited now. You're all happy now because you're going to get your little matchup with the Golden Gophers. All you Tommies been moaning and whining about, oh, you're afraid to play us. That's what it is. Now you're going to get to play. So can you promise us you're going to shut up about this from this point forward now that you got your way?
Well, as I said to Gaardsy on the X app, yes. Like, all we've been asking for is to give it a shot. I will say it's awfully convenient of Nico and the Gophers to roll out the red carpet for us when NIL has absolutely vanquished our roster this year. And I'm sure that's just merely coincidence that it happened once we've been gutted by that. But hey, we wanted a shot, and we are just so blessed to be able to play against such a prestigious Big Ten institution like the Gophers. And so just awfully magnanimous of that school to let the little engine that could get a shot. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, it sounds like you're already making the excuse. That's the thing. You either want it
it's never enough.
Or you don't.
Never enough.
And now you're not sure you want it right now because you're setting up the possibility that this might not be the year that you feel good about it after the game is played.
No, we'll show up. We'll be there. Okay. Don't you worry about that. When that bell rings, the purple and gray is going to be on that court and ready to go. And all the pressure, all of it is going to be on the Gophers, the mighty Gophers, all of the accolades that they've had over the years.
And that's why they have every right to not play you. That's why all you clowns who get excited about this, like, oh, are you afraid of us? Yeah, because there isn't anything to gain. They have everything to lose. You have everything to gain. I wish they wouldn't. Well, actually, I do wish. I am glad they did it, just so we can move on with the rest of our lives.
Why don't they just trust their storied history and say that we're not worried about this little team over here because we'll flatten them and we will wrestle back control of basketball in Minnesota in our favor. So they have been ducking us. They have not wanted the smoke. They are worried about being embarrassed by losing to the Tommies, and that's why they hadn't played. Now they are up here. Congratulations to them. It's nice that they're absolutely doing this, but believe in yourselves. If you think that this is such a mismatch, if you think that that you do have a risk of being embarrassed, get out there and play and win the game. Win the game. That's what I would say.
Well, you know what I'd say? You might want to win the Summit League tournament first, then get back to me.
Well, the refs really screwed us in that.
Well, here's my question, Johnny. What's going on in Rubens or the Capitol Club at that new arena, the fancy new arena, if you can't get an NIL budget? I mean, I saw Rubens. I've been to the arena. It's magical. Is it a bunch of freeloaders in the Capitol Club? Nobody's helping out Ben Frazier with some NIL? That's what I'm wondering.
No, you know what it is? You know what it is, Gaardsy, is we are actually trying to bring some sort of sensibility back to this machine of college sports and some perspective. You got all these teams out here that are throwing all this money around. They can't afford it. They're putting it on the credit card. They're going to regret it later in life. We have real business school acumen. We have real accounting school acumen. We have everyone just doing it the right way. And we're trying to do this soberly. This isn't, we're trying to just do this the right way and set an example for everyone else. And now we got all these irresponsible spenders out there that are just kind of throwing it all around. It's crazy.
I got a source who wants me to remind you that the St. Thomas basketball team finally played St. John's this year after the Johnnies lost 9 of their top 10 players the year before. Funny.
Tom Linneman's checked in.
Isn't that funny?
Hey, our schedule was full. We don't have time for a boys' school up near St. Cloud, all right? We're just going to go ahead and play real opponents. That's what we want. That's what we want, real opponents on our schedule. Yeah. That's the thing.
Okay. All right. That's what you say. Well, I'll ask you later about the bottle cap controversy, see if you're even a bottled water drinker. And by the way, it doesn't have to be expensive water. It just has to come in a bottle, or unless you're a Stanley Steamer guy. I don't know. Are you not? What's the name of the country?
Stanley.
Stanley, yeah.
Yeah, Stanley cups.
They got cups. Yeah. We'll get into that.
Don't sleep on a Wallace.
A little bit later.
My daughter has both. She's 7.
Do you agree with this sentiment? This is from Kyle out of Cottage Grove. He writes, the new uniforms are fantastic. The new logo is a failure. They should have simplified or gone more classic with the logo. Keeping the star, which is not a star, is the failure. So many people hate it. It looks like a moldy olive, among other awful things. Despise the logo, love the uniforms. They're fantastic. What do you think?
So I don't know if I'm in the minority or not here, but I actually like that logo and that version of it better than even Old Shep back in the day. I thought I really like Old Shep, but he looks like a husky dog, like not like a wolf.
Right.
This is a howling wolf going at the moon with the North Star up there. Now they put some trees in the logo this time to gussy it up a little bit. I like the colors of this logo, so I would have been happy to see that big circular logo right on the front of the jersey and just feature that. That's what I feel about it. But I do know that there are fans out there that aren't really impressed with it or that don't think it was a big enough departure, given that the old logo was was very similar, just with different colors. But I was really happy that they kept it pretty close to what it was, because I thought it was pretty creative.
Explain the phenomenon in general. The interest in an event in which you're not playing any games, you're not putting up any other games, you are making some people available, I guess, in addition to the fact that you're unveiling these costumes, basically.
I was shocked, Dan. I mean, maybe it was the John Krasinski show that brought everyone out there to see it, but I doubt that was the case. When I got in there and there's 7,000 people in there, legit 7,000, it just was something that I think speaks to what this team has become in this community. And they know that there's going to be months before they can get any kind of connection to this team again, and the opportunity to come in there and kind of be in the building, see the new floor, see the new, the other thing that was impressive, Dan, was they got all those people when everyone pretty much knew what the jersey looked like already. I mean, it had leaked, a week in advance and had spread around pretty far and wide. So there wasn't a lot of surprise, but I do think the Wolves have, as they've gotten more competitive, as they've gotten more competent, have really built up their fan base even more. And so now there is a bit of a level of pride, and these fans did want to do away with the old look. They were really ready to celebrate getting away from a more kind of colorless, characterless look to something that I think does a really good job of being both nostalgic and changing it up just enough to be new. And so people love merch. They love they love the colors. They love, kind of seeing this new stuff in here, and they geek out over it. And so, but it's still when I looked around and saw all those people there, that did surprise me a little bit for sure.
So you got now the NBA Finals. Obviously, Game 3 is tonight. The Games 3 and 4 are scheduled for New York. We've tended to evaluate the state of the Wolves generally on the basis of, okay, who are the best teams in the Western Conference. Now, the team that was deemed the favorite finds itself in desperation, right? The Spurs are in desperate need of a victory tonight. They are. I do not think they can come back. Well, I shouldn't say I shouldn't say they can't come back and win this series. I don't think that they will at this point. So, do we have to? Broaden out our thinking about, okay, here's where the best teams in the NBA are, and here's where the Wolves are, if we're trying to do some measuring. If we include the Knicks at this point, are there any lessons for what they represent? Even though they play in the other conference, we may be playing with them in the same conference sooner than we know it. What do we know beyond what we assumed, which was, Spurs, man, they're awfully good, and they're going to be really good for a lot of years?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, because certainly the initial measuring stick is Oklahoma City and San Antonio, because you have to get out of the West before you have a chance to compete for a title. But when you get summarily dismissed in the second round by San Antonio, and then those same Spurs are having all kinds of trouble with the Knicks, it only makes sense to look at what they're doing and try to see if there's anything you can take away from that. I know there'll be some smart Alex that say, oh boy, why don't you go get a 7-foot center who can shoot threes and get to the basket? That's a pretty good idea. Wouldn't it be nice to have one of those? And there's something to that, but I think in a larger perspective, what the Knicks do really well that gives San Antonio problems is they have all of their guys can really handle the ball reliably. they all can shoot it, and they all really pass and move and cut. And that makes this vaunted San Antonio defense work a lot harder. They are putting Victor Wembanyama on skates a lot in the half court, and they are generating good looks because they are moving, they are spreading the floor, they are passing it, they are sharing it, and then they're getting and knocking down those open shots that they create. And that is something that the Timberwolves have a harder time with. They are, with Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, more ISO heavy. Rudy Gobert is very limited offensively. And so that's another issue that they have to deal with. And so I do think that they can look at the Knicks and say a priority going into next season is to get more versatile offensively and to have more guys who can do more things. And I think that that was a big problem for them in the second round. They made themselves too easy to guard, in addition to the injuries that they were dealing with and missing Dante and Ant and all those things. That was a problem. But this was a team that does not spread the floor, pass and cut as well, certainly as the Knicks are doing right now. And there are some things that they can take from that, I think, and try and implement into their offense.
Well, and I think part of the deal with when we were looking at through the Spurs prism was, man, they got a lot of guards and they all seem kind of interchangeable. But the Knicks don't play four guards, right? The Knicks, and this has been part of Sam Mitchell, I know, talked to you, and we had him in studio yesterday. He's been on this for a while, that part of he thinks the Knicks' advantage is they have real forwards. Anunoby is strong and tall and big and skilled. So it's not like, so even if you got good guards, the guards in the case of Spurs are being a little bit overwhelmed with between him and Bridges, and it's almost like a little bit of a throwback to real position differences. Now again, they're all fairly versatile. I mean, what do we call guards today as opposed to, small forwards? But to me, that's a little bit of the sneaky strength that New York has shown. Anunoby, man. In fact, there was one play, was it game 1 or game 2, where he had Wemby on his hip right behind him, but he was able to sort of crowd him out, keep his own body, and dunk on him, which, obviously we rarely see.
Yeah, and right before that, what created that opportunity was Cat was in the other corner and flung a pass all the way across from corner to corner. It was a remarkable pass that you do not see hardly at all in the NBA. And so I do think it caught the Spurs off guard, like, oh, he can't make that pass. And he did. And then he got it to Anunoby. And so Wemby had to kind of scramble out to close out on him because Anunoby's an unbelievable corner three-point shooter. And that allowed Anunoby to get by him and with enough momentum to dunk. And so you have Anunoby, you have Josh Hart, who plays really big.
Physical.
And he's also a 41% three-point shooter. And he can make plays. And Bridges. And, Brunson's their only little guy, but he plays tough. And so I think that what they have done is they've fought the Spurs' size with their own size, but then they also are playing such a beautiful blended game that this is not a mano-a-mano type of a thing.
No.
The only time the Knicks have gotten in trouble so far, Dan, is in the fourth quarter of game 2 when Jalen Brunson did do a lot of mano-a-mano.
They reverted.
Right?
Yep, you're exactly
right. And so, that's the key for when you have a player like Wembanyama, you have to get him moving side to side, north and south. And that's where you can get a little bit of a crack to get to the basket, to knock down open shots, and the Knicks are just doing a tremendous job with that right now.
So, again, I know for a lot of people, it's hard for them to root for a New York team because it's like they have everything, we have nothing. It's New York. I'm tired of hearing about it. If you can make it anywhere, all the New York stuff. I understand some of that frustration. But I got to tell you, you kind of hinted at it and touched on it, the type of basketball, certainly offensive basketball they're playing, I think it's pretty, man. It's fun to see. It is team basketball. And again, what's ironic is, of course, when the last 2 times the Knicks won it were 69 and 73. I was talking about that with Double T. Both of those teams were free flowing. The ball moved. And this time, I think the Knicks, if you're a basketball purist, I think they're a real easy team to root for.
I agree, Dan. And it's a likable team, but I think what is drawing people to this group is they are much closer in resemblance to that 04 Pistons team that beat the Lakers in terms of this. Jalen Brunson's a superstar. There's no doubt about it. Cat is a 6-time All-Star, made just $1 billion in this league. Like he is a star player. But the way that they are playing right now, this is not a, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and a bunch of guys and like one guy dominates.
Right.
Like they are spreading the ball around. They are sharing the wealth. They are playing so selflessly. And that's how they are beating teams and certainly how they're beating the Spurs. Brunson has not shot the ball well in either of these two games aside from the fourth quarter of game one. But because the ball is finding Anunoby and Bridges and Hart and Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet and all of these things, you have Mitchell Robinson playing with a broken finger. Like you have guys that are giving up stats, sacrificing shots for the greater good. And that is just about as admirable as you can be as a basketball team. And that's what they're doing. That's what worked for the Pistons against the Lakers in 04. That's what's working for these guys against the Spurs right now in 26.
Well, again, not every roster is equal. Teams have to play and coaches have to play to players' strengths, clearly. But if you, I guess, I don't have the analytics on this. Maybe you do somewhere. But it certainly appears to me that one of the significant differences, and I think you also talked about this earlier, between the Wolves and certainly the Knicks, if now that's going to be part of our discussion now that they're close to winning this thing, is we still dribble too much. The Wolves, and again, Naz Reid is skillful with the dribble. That's sort of his game. But I think we still see, compared to a New York, to me, and again, Brunson can dribble it some. We've seen him revert from time to time. Shoes, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Dan. There's a couple things that stick out to me when I think about that element. And the first is we have to acknowledge that Rudy Gobert is not able to be as involved in actions that way in the half court.
True.
The Knicks can give it up to Cat and he can break someone down and at least take 4 or 5 dribbles to create some space and time and then move it somewhere else. Rudy just does not do that. Julius Randle has a lot of attributes offensively that can help you, but he can't space the floor. He's not shooting it well from 3. And so you don't have to guard him as closely out there. And so then it allows opponents to pack the paint, so it can make it more difficult to create those opportunities. But secondly, as well, is we have talked about this a lot on this show all season long, is there is a basketball IQ shortfall between the Wolves, the Knicks, the Thunder, even the Spurs, some of their young guys, in the way that they move it, the way that they recognize playing against zones versus man, the way that they adapt on the fly. It just has not, the Wolves processing of information on the fly is not as quick. And so what that means is when you don't have that supercomputer, then you resort to your physical attributes. And Ant and Julius and Jaden, like all these guys have, and Naz, they all have very significant physical attributes that can help them in one-on-one settings, but it doesn't make the whole thing click the way that we do see the Knicks doing, the way that we saw the Warriors doing back in the day, the Thunder, all these teams. And so that could come with more experience, with more time, with more study, but I also think you do need to probably sprinkle in a little bit different elements with this team as well to inject even more of that ability to make quick decisions on the fly and dissect what they're seeing right away without having to take a timeout, look at it, diagram it, or in between games the way that they had to do in the playoffs.
Let's finish with a couple things about Cat. So, and I talked about this, some of this with Double T earlier. I'm trying to figure out whether the Towns that we are now seeing is the perfect, I don't know, it's almost like the perfect marriage of time and situation, that it couldn't have happened sooner, that all the things that led to this version of Cat needed to play out before we got here. Because the alternative is to say, my God, should we have been playing through him a lot more than we did, even if we had Anthony Edwards? So how do we explain what Towns seems to be becoming at this late date? And does it mean we squandered it, that he could have gotten to a lot of this stuff a lot sooner? Or is he a different player on the basis of all the experiences that have brought him to this spot?
Yeah, I think, Dan, that it's fair to say that he has evolved. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that Cat was always this player because, as much as I admire his game, as much as I like him as a person, I also have to fully acknowledge that there were plenty of times earlier in his career in Minnesota where you'd see him throw the ball behind his back or over his shoulder trying to make a play, and it landed in the third row. You'd see all of those offensive fouls that he created. You see just a lot of the decision-making was kind of frenetic and frantic as a player. During this run in these playoffs, he is so calm and so composed and is just making the simple plays. And so I do think that there is some maturity that is involved there, for sure. They're doing a few things probably with him that are a little different than Minnesota, but I know that Chris Finch and Ryan Saunders and Tom Thibodeau all tried to do a lot of those things with Cat, as well. And let's not shortchange it. He was a 4-time All-Star here. He got to the Western Conference Finals. There were plenty of seasons where he had no help on the roster or very little help, and that was, I think, as big of an issue for him as anything else. With that New York Knicks roster, it is incredibly talented, like from 1 through 8 or 9. And so he's got great players around him. He's got a really good coach. And so all of it's come together here for him. And I do think, though, that we have to credit him with changing a little bit of an outlook, or at least just calming himself down in games and being a little more reliable and not having the, Britt Robson always called it the stray voltage, those types of plays. And so he has evolved. He has matured a bit. But I do think it is just the perfect confluence of time of his career, the player that he is becoming, the supporting cast around him, and the coaching that he has, that is all just clicked in place just in the last 2 months, Dan.
Yes.
At the start of the season, people were saying, oh, man, this isn't working.
Yep.
Cat's not going to do it. So the patience for Cat, but also for the organization to ride out those difficult times needs to be credited as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's more the latter, as you say. I don't remember this player. Now, again, some of the skills, yes, obviously. But the level of calm, relatively speaking, with which he is playing, and every time the ball is in his hands in this new, era of where, he's their top assist guy, basically, he just looks like it's just, all right, I'm waiting for somebody to cut open, and, I'll get the ball to him. And it doesn't have to be fancy. I don't remember that guy. And so I think some of it is maybe figuring some stuff out. Maybe it's who you're playing with, whatever the case may be. But there's a lot less, the performances are a lot less frantic. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Well, and one other thing on that, Dan, Jalen Brunson is almost 30 years old. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, all these guys are veteran dudes.
Yep.
When he was here in Minnesota, Ant was super young. D'Angelo Russell, Andrew Wiggins, Zach LaVine, all of these guys, aside from the Jimmy Teague year that obviously blew up, he was never really surrounded by the veteran players like this. And so, that makes it easier for him to be calm as well, I think. I think he put a lot on his shoulders in those Minnesota years that kind of forced him to try to do more than he probably should have sometimes.
Appreciate you, and we will, I guess, probably hope to talk next week unless there's, we can't really make any trades right now, right?
I mean, they could. There's a possibility, but generally speaking,
draft
the team, the whole league goes dormant during the finals. Right. Nobody wants to take headlines away, so I would imagine that any movement, certainly any significant movement, will come after the finals. I'm
waiting for the Miles oral history. I may be a little early for that, but eventually that will become necessary.
Yeah, as things kind of lighten up in the summertime and I have a little time to get over there, it's on my docket for sure because I absolutely just love her game. And I feel a lot of Ricky vibes with her. I know she's a better scorer than he is, but just the way that she has just burst onto the scene and is flinging passes all over the place and has the unique look and all that. There's nothing I don't like about her. So that is definitely something I'm going to try to get done here sometime this season because she fascinates me.
Absolutely. I mentioned it to Gaardsy. They had a Saturday national TV game. I didn't even realize it was on. It was pretty early and against a forgettable opponent. But I eventually said, well, I might as well stop pretending. I'm going to stop watching until Reeve brings her to the bench, with the game won. I mean, I literally said, I got to keep watching this. And that's what she brings already. And we're going to have Waylon. And what day is Lindsay coming in?
We're planning on Wednesday.
Wednesday is the plan.
Wednesday.
So I'm looking forward
after they play Page tomorrow night.
Oh, that's right.
So you have your TV off in there? You saw me, I was kind of scrambling.
Yeah, it's off.
I just thought Johnny will appreciate this and know this, that they're showing all the former Knicks, that are at Madison Square Garden. There's a lot of them. Who is seated at the left hand of Patrick Ewing?
I hope it's not Stephon Marbury.
It's not. It's not a former player. A former Timberwolves executive at the left hand of Patrick Ewing.
Gerson Rosas.
Gerson Rosas?
Yeah.
Rosas.
Yeah.
The quasi-architect of this NBA Finals team.
Well, of both the Wolves and the Knicks, right? To a large degree.
Well, until Conley blew up Gerson's master plan.
That's true.
Traded D'Lo. Traded D'Lo.
Exactly right.
Mike Conley. Who knows how that would have turned out?
Yeah. He made some.
I've said it so many times.
Yes.
It is the great tragedy in terms of he was doing a good job.
He was.
From just the moves standpoint. Everyone misses on some. That's fine. He was doing a good job, but it's everything else. And I'm not just talking about the one thing that everyone knows about.
Right.
It was everything else.
Yeah.
And he was his own worst enemy. He should be here. He should be having a job in the league for a long time, but we'll see how that all shakes out. And he was his own worst enemy. It was just really a shame.
Thank you, Johnny.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
you. That is Jonny Athletic, brought to you by RBC Wealth Management. We got some good text, good reaction coming in on this subject and many more. 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. We'll get to a couple of other stories before we wrap things up at 6:30 on a busy night here on The Fan.
This is Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barrero on The Fan.
February 24th, 1994, the Minnesota Timberwolves traded Luke Longley and a second-round pick to the Chicago Bulls for a power forward named Stacey King. And by the way, for the record, that second-round pick that we gave up turned out to be somebody named Dragan Tarlok. Do you remember him for the Bulls?
No, I don't.
Do not remember him all that much.
Jerry Krause liked the international players. He was early on that. Tony Kukoc.
That's true. Good point.
Among others.
I remember that deal like it was yesterday. And I also remember chatting as I was preparing to write something about a trade that, in a sense, was big in that, of course, in back-to-back years, the Wolves drafted with their number one picks centers. It was Felton Spencer first, right?
Yep.
And then the following year, it was Luke. And Luke was, Felton was very limited, hard worker, great guy. Luke was viewed as a guy who had a little bit more talent, taller, maybe a little bit more skill to him, but it felt like he was kind of soft for a big man, right? But part of the issue here was the difficulty in evaluating players if everything is a mess. It becomes harder to truly evaluate individual players who, if you put them in a different environment, might actually be part of the solution. And in Chicago, Longley was part of the solution.
Big time.
The good part for him is they didn't ask him to do a lot, right? But they did ask him to run the offense, the triple post offense, the triangle offense, I guess I should say. And he kind of knew his job. And he often did it, right? So they got kind of what they needed. The Wolves in that period were in desperation mode, right? It's like, what are we doing? All right, well, let's roll the dice on Stacey King, who in college was a terrific low post scorer. I think he took his team to the national championship game one year out of Oklahoma. He was a Tubbs guy, if I'm not mistaken. And yet, as a pro, I think he ended up winning 3 rings with Michael, but I don't think he ever averaged more than 9 points a game with the Bulls. And I was kind of bored with the trade, not because I thought Longley had been great, but I just didn't think King, I just thought King was limited as a basketball player. The kind of the classic case of a great pro low post scorer whose game didn't translate all that much, and he wasn't going to be a main guy. And so I can remember it. I think one of the first columns I wrote was pretty critical of the deal and pretty critical of King as a player. And somewhere later, I don't remember when it was, a word came to me that King had spoken, one of those deals where before a game he's speaking to some season ticket holders or, those little meet and greets that sometimes they hold. And that King told the assembled group that the only 2 writers that he really couldn't stand over the course of his career were Sam Smith out of Chicago, the legendary Chicago sports writer, and me. I was the other one. And I bring all that up now because, as background, just because the tragic story that broke yesterday that Stacey King has passed away. Was it 59 years old?
Yeah.
59 years old. There's nothing official on the cause of death. There have been a lot of reports indicating the possibility of a fall, right? That being the issue. I don't know how much. I assume eventually we're going to get more information. And I venture to say that what cemented, this is being talked about and kind of absorbed in Chicago as a major loss to their sports infrastructure. And it's not so much because of King, the player, because, like I said, he was an okay professional player. He was not a great player. But he stayed or came back to be one of their basketball TV analysts, right?
Yep.
And he had done it long enough where he kind of cemented his reputation, right? It's a good example of how it's not always necessarily what you do as a player. There can be another life where it might help that you were a player and that you did play for the Bulls and that you did win titles, even though obviously you were, I don't think he ever started. I think he was just a bench guy for the Bulls. But you get this second chapter and you really turn it into something influential. And he became an extremely popular guy. A lot of his sound bites have been played today. That kind of captured what a good listen he was, how excited he might get, passion, etc. So it's a rare example, but occasionally it's the former basketball player turned broadcaster. It's the broadcaster part of it with their favorite team, obviously the Bulls.
Right.
That actually is the thing I think that has cemented him to such a way that the reaction has been as visceral in Chicago as it has become.
Well, everybody's got a team and everybody's got a broadcaster.
Yes.
And those two are often synonymous. And they become part of your fabric.
Exactly, yeah.
Chip Scoggins has a piece out now. He went and hung out with all the Big Ten football broadcasters, do like a golf trip every year. This year it was in Minneapolis. Grimm put it on. And he talked about that all these guys are the soundtracks of your life.
It's true.
If you're a fan, and you and I talk about Kevin Harlan all the time, that was my guy growing up. And so it's not surprising. The guy spent 2 decades doing the games. That's a really long time. That's a lot of games.
That's more than enough time to become, like you say, part of it.
That's
part of the experience. You're entrenched.
You turn it on. I mean, I think about it, like, obviously with Harlan, like Alan Horton, like Jim Peterson, like, they're just there night after night after night after night. Good teams, bad teams, whatever it is.
Yes.
That's why people are excited about Mike Breen right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's done 50 years of the Knicks.
Yes.
And they're back in the finals, and he's got to play it straight. But everybody's fired up for him because he's been part of that fabric for a long time.
100% true. When I was in high school, I traveled to St. Cloud State to watch Wolves training camp. My buddy and I were amused that Charles Shackelford, remember him?
Of course.
Signed his autograph, Shaq. We said it out loud, and Stacey King told us he was the original Shaq, Charles Shackelford. Part of it, I think, the frustration then was, and Shackelford's another good name to bring into this, is it felt like we were just bringing people in, especially the front court, where once upon a time you had a name, or once upon a time you had a name in college, or a pro, a guy already in the pros, but who hadn't really established someplace else as being all that good, and we were just kind of projecting, just hoping. Because I remember when King first came, it was, guess what? Low post, man. He can do it. He's a good scorer in low post. We're going to get him down there. He's going to get the ball. And I think he had a couple of good games, but it just didn't last because, again, there was just not enough there. So players tended, I think, to look worse than they were, in part because of the hole for so long. The hole is in WHOLE. You know what I'm saying?
I sure do.
And I do think it makes it hard to because, again, if Longley had stayed here, he probably would have languished, right? Because here there was going to be more expected of him because of how high he was selected and because there wasn't a lot of other good stuff going on. In Chicago, who else did they have then? Michael, they had Pippen.
Ron Harper.
They had Ron Harper.
Rodman.
I mean, go down the list, and it's like you could just all he had to do was do what he does, and nobody was going to be that bothered by the fact that occasionally he would block his own shot at the rim.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800 Gary Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Mother...
Show wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washers since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper show wrap.
Chicken Wars conversation today. That's podcastable. We also talked, done as a society item in hour one, had to do with this as a Texas Tech quarterback.
Yeah, Sorsby.
Who has won his case in court, at least at the level, as of right now. An injunction has been granted him to play football, play quarterback at his current school, one of several he's been at before, almost as many as you. And
he's made more money.
That's true.
He's made more money than me.
Despite the fact that he's admitted that he bet, 42 times? I mean, an endless number of times, dozens of times, while in Indiana, bet on Indiana. And as we said earlier, it's a curious decision that seems to take out of the hands of the NCAA or anybody the ability to sanction players who cross that one line that allegedly is supposed to be uncrossable. And in this case, the judge was convinced on the basis of, he's suffering from a mental health issue. To which I would say he probably is. But that shouldn't get in the way, frankly, of there being consequences for his conduct. So it's a story definitely worth following. Trent Tucker at 3:30 on playing at the Garden. Knicks are back home for a home NBA Finals game for the first time since 1999, correct?
Ben Stiller's there. He made it.